Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy Sister, and today we're going to be talking about four great video games that Square Enix should remake. As we all know, that Square Enix hasn't made like a good new video game in like forever, ever since like remakes after remakes after remakes. So, following that tradition, here's some great video games that they have in their back catalog that they should do a very decent remake of. The first one in the shopping block should be Valkyrie Profile 2, Silmeria. That's the one that I actually like. And they should really all they will have to do is give a little facelift to like the battle, since the Valkyrie Profile 2 had like a quasi active fighting style. All they will need is just to give it a make them fight like Final Fantasy VII. Like they already had the backbone and all of the pieces for it, or even have them fight like Final Fantasy Type Zero that had like a huge cast of characters. So and I don't really mind the 2D, the weird platforming style that they had in like the area. This one was like a weird side scroller. That one was fine, and then just give an HD facelift to all of the plot, because like the plot works. You really don't need to change anything about the plot. Like it wouldn't require a lot of work to give this a decent remake. And of all of the Valkyrie profiles, I feel like this is a good one. And like the last Valkyrie profile that they brought out, like God, it was awful, god awful. Like they don't even that like they weren't even trying god awful. So as I noticed that lately they only try like 1% only on the remakes. So at least try like 1% on like all of these PlayStation 2 games that will make great modern day game remakes. This was not so much of the PlayStation 2, but the PlayStation 3, and I think they should remake the entire Drakengard series, because everyone's always like near, 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 but they didn't know. But like modern gamers don't know that near is part of like a much older Drakengard series, and it would be nice to, to like remade this video game for like the modern audience and stuff, and it already has like the fighting is already like on point. Like it would just need like to smooth to smooth out the frame rate, and then give it like a nice HD facelift to all of like the cutscenes. And like the copy's good, just stick to the copy. Like this one will be easy money, since that's what all of these remakes are for the most part, just a big cash grab. And plus, like, this game is not even like available to stream online. That sometimes they have like PlayStation 3 games in like the PSN library or something. But surprisingly, Drakengard 3 is not in there. It's like it almost feels like the Square Enix wants people to forget that Drakengard even existed, even though it's like the more interesting cousin of Nier, with like the crazy ending and all of that. But that was from the time period, from the PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 era. That was back when like games used to be like experimental craziness, and like now every game feels like the same game or just another Dark Souls clone. Heck, even Dark Souls games are starting to be a Dark Souls clone of each other. Ugh. Don't even get me started about Elden Ring Night Ring, which is something that I consider a cash grab, or Fortnite Elden Ring edition, and I'm not a big fan of Fortnite. If you enjoy Fortnite, that's good for you, but yeah, whatever. Moving along. Another good game that Square Enix could like remake, that's part of like their library and whatever, is like Radiata Stories. Like that one, it has two options for it. And it's like it's one of the early games that had like multiple endings and stuff, and you get like two options. If you like side with the humans, you get one ending, and if you fight again, and if you side with the non-humans, it goes on a different tangent. Yeah, and this is one of the games that I actually replayed a lot, cause like it ran on a all of the quests and cutscenes and stories, it ran on like a timer, like a real world timer. So you had a limited amount of time to get like everything done before the plot in move forward, whether you wanted to or not. So, but the time stuff and then like all of the characters they had, and even their missions they activated within the set timer. So then you had a very limited amount of time to get like stuff, or even your main character completely leveled up in order to make the final the later bosses even feasible. So it had like an interesting gimmick that you don't even see in like modern games anymore, where where you got like infinite amount of time to do like whatever. But it was just and even like the fighting was like active based and very amusing, like I feel that this game was like ahead of its time, and it had like a huge cast of characters that you can even like recruit and like fight and like play with. So it wasn't just tied to like four characters. You can actually like recruit like it was like 100 or 200. Oh, plus like the way that you can also like get into fights with literally everyone. Like you kick them, and then if you annoy them enough, they will fight. They will fight to rip you a new one. Yeah, and there were some characters that you could only like recruit them by like annoying them and defeating them in battle. So that was also another unique mechanic that was only in Radiata stories. Like imagine like in other video games where because normally like in Skyrim or something, like if you annoy a character, you get into a fight to the death. But in this one, you don't like you only kill characters within like a storyline type of beat. Like the rest of the time, they just you just give them a royal beating and they hate you forever. But sometimes you wanna do that in order to like earn their respect. Like there's one that was like a lurking character that you could only get a specific time, like a werewolf looking guy, and then you have to like wander about, try to catch the time, duel him, and then defeat him in several different locations in order to like recruit him. And that guy was necessary for like the human side quest in order to like recruit the a genie of all things, which is like who was the leader of the Thieves Guild in Radiata stories. But you see, it's like a very interesting, like amusing game, and like I like that it also has like a huge cast of characters, even the same way as Valkyrie Profile. They also had like a huge cast of videos, and like no one is repeated, and everyone's got like their own backstory. That was back when like Square Enix tried like 1%. uh, the last game that like Square Enix should really get around to making a good remake is Star Ocean Till the End of Time, or the Star Ocean that ruined all of the other Star Ocean. Cause like the ending, it threw the existing canon, shook it up, and threw it out the window. Cause it gets very meta. Spoiler alerts. The bad guys, the main characters of the game are actually main characters for the video game, and then they go out into the physical world at a Digimon style to beat up their creators to make them stop adding monsters into the video game because they're suffering and whatever. Like imagine if like Dark Souls character invaded like the physical world in the real world in order to beat out the programmers from software for to prevent them from putting a DLC that's gonna add more monsters into the world. Just like imagine if that were to happen in like the physical world. That could be actually a good movie in and of itself, like a good Dark Souls type of movie. If they ever feel like doing that, just have a Dark Souls character invade the physical world. But he carries over all of it, like all of his darts of power. Like they kill him, but he keeps coming back, even like a Michael Myers, or have Melania invade the corona, spreading scarlet rot everywhere. Yeah, that's and Japan already has more than enough problems with Godzilla, and now they gotta deal with Melania too. in the physical world. But that should be but that's a topic for a different blog, funny movie ideas based on video games. But yeah, Star Ocean Till the End of Time needs a good remake. Like the fighting it, like it has a like I like the plot of this one is very amusing. Even before they start with like the weird 4D beings. Because the main character is being hunted across the galaxy because he has like some weird magic that is embedded into his DNA. So like the Star Ocean always try by having like a good blend between it's magic, but also it was that line between sci-fi and magic. It's very hard to do both sci-fi and magic at the same time in a way that it makes sense. And Star Ocean is one of the few franchises that actually pulls it out. That yes, it's a game that is sci-fi as hell, but it's also very magical. So yeah, it's a perfect hybrid of both fantasy and sci-fi genre, and I really like this one a lot, and it deserves to get like a decent remake. I hope. Uh, oh yeah, but I didn't put the picture on it. Whatever. I'll mention the last one because I forgot to put the picture, but the last one that should get like a decent remake is the last Random. Like all of the other games that I mentioned, it has like a huge cast of characters and a decent plot, a very decent plot. And the only reason why it wasn't famous is because the creators of that game didn't call it Final Fantasy. But usually the name Final Fantasy games that are the fantasy games that they feel that work well in the Western market because it doesn't because they doesn't have like because the plot is very vanilla. But like the last Rana, you got like war, people get killed. The main character is in love with a cougar lady that resembles his sister, but who's not his sister, Emma. Yeah, yeah. But then he starts dating his younger daughter, Amy, and then I be like, but he still has the heart for like her dead mother and stuff. I thought that it was like he has a Yaoi kind of relationship with the Prince of Ireland that's kind of like alluded to. That's kind of like alluded to with one of like the characters that you can recruit that like start saying, "Oh, I know the Marquis of Ireland," and he lets me. Well, I call him Dave or Davy depending on my mood, but that's basically how the peasants look at my Lord David's relationship with like the main character, cause he lets him boss him around and all of that. And since he's like a new young marquis, they think that he's easily manageable and whatnot. And the last Redna has a lot of funny, and that's something that the Final Fantasy in general or all of Square Enix they has forgotten. They forgot how to be funny. They like the old Square Enix had their little bits of humor here and there, and that's been like they fired a funny guy, and now none of the Square Enix games have anything remotely funny, and everything's somber and serious and epic, and the old Square Enix, at least up until Final Fantasy, well, at least up to the last Remnant. From that last Remnant back, they used to have the funny, and from the last Remnant forward, everything got too serious. Well, think about it. They name one summon that is as hilarious as Brothers from Final Fantasy. Yeah, like name one summon that is as hilarious as like the brother from Final Fantasy 8. Like yeah, that they play that before they attack, they play rock paper scissors to decide who's the one that gets to attack the enemy. Like they lost the humor of it, and that's sad. And Square Enix makes me sad. But yeah, that's enough. Oh yeah, like if you're gonna tackle the last Remnant, know that you're gonna be that the battles are really difficult, and the way to level up is also a bit of a it's a bit of a mess, and finding little weak monsters to defeat stronger monsters. The game fights you back on it because the monsters level up at the same rate that you do. So the way to train is that you find the strongest amount of monsters. You fight them all at once. And if you still have survived the battle, then you level. So- and that, yeah. Yeah, like if the enemy gains more strength than you do, and like all our monsters are off screen also training, and if they get more EXP than you do, then you're not gonna win that game. Cause I had gotten into a point where in the last round where I can't defeat the final boss because the final boss trained more than I did, and well, not more, better. He trained fighting stronger monsters, and that's one of those games where you can get stuck in such a way that you can't win it. That you don't get the final boss. And also, any weapon or remnant or magical stuff that you don't get, the final boss gets it. So that's a fun gimmick mechanic. Well, yeah, that's enough for the 5 games that Square Enix to remake. Bye bye and God bless.